Hey, welcome back. It is Saturday, October the 17th, 2020, and it is 33 degrees out. I don't remember it being this cold this time last year. So, we're going to build on the last video that I did, but before that, I'm going to tell you a quick story. But before that, I'm going to shut this off. Just a people story, right? Today was a 16-hour day for me. It was a long freaking day. Didn't have much going on, which I was grateful for. My department, we go on everything. Medical, fire, report a crime. Our ambulance covers a whole lot of ground. All of us are first responders, some of us are EMT. So, better a first responder and maybe an EMT get to you quicker than an ambulance, right? Last run of the night comes in. The dispatcher mumbles the street through the microphone twice on his end. All I caught was a numeric and chest pains. Now, there's only a certain number of streets that have numerics as high as they are. They're all sorted in the same direction. So, finally get him to belch out clearly where we're going. It takes my partner and I 3 minutes to get there. The EMT got there right behind us. And it took the ambulance 4 minutes to get there. I was the first one on scene. I pulled 2 houses past the address. The gentleman having chest pains is whistling. Now, there's a reason I did that. My car, my partner's car, the paramedic's truck, and then the ambulance needs to get into the driveway. So we get there, we come walking out. He's whistling and yelling over here. So we walk up to the driveway and speak to the gentleman. He's the one having chest pains. And in the 3 minutes, or the minute that it took for myself, my partner, and the medic to get a baseline on the guy and the ambulance to get there, dude's wife is like, "Are they gonna hurry up?" Mind you, dude was having chest pains all day. And then she looks at us and goes, "Are you guys gonna do anything?" I looked at the medic looked at me and he goes, "No," and that's a good thing. Because if we have to work on you without the ambulance, that means you're dead. Long Islanders. My partner, who's ex-NYPD, was like, "Yeah, it's just a New York attitude." I was like, "Yeah, but it took 4 minutes, start to finish, to get an ambulance to the house." He's like, whatever. So, lesson in people. Right? It's never fast enough, never good enough. That's people in general. But whatever. Long and short, the dude was upright talking to us and probably wasn't having any kind of a heart attack. Walked into the ambulance on his own and away he went. So, back to the video that I wanted to do. Last night I talked about a poll that I had read. It said 60-some% of Americans believe we're close to a civil war, 52% are preparing for it. Actually, it was Thursday night. Anyway, who's the 52% that are preparing for it? I had posed that as a question. I can answer part of that. There was rumor that I had seen on a couple of videos on other channels of a leaked memo from the NYPD, basically stating that they're preparing for spirited protest, right? Post-election, because they don't foresee the results coming in in an expeditious manner. And that they are anticipating, like I said, spirited protest as a result. By spirited protest, I mean rioting. But, you know, I'm trying to be kinder, gentler me. On the parts of various different groups in the city, and disruptions of goods and services, and they're preparing accordingly. Now, I caught that on a couple of other channels. One of them being the Angry Prepper, who I tend to put a little stock in when it comes to anything out of New York City. He is a New York City fireman. My partner is ex-NYPD, as I've said. So I asked him about it, and he's like, I don't know, I'll find out though. Within 10 minutes, yep, it's a thing. It's legit. So, yeah, I'm sorry for those of you that are like, why does he equate everything to New York? That's the closest major city to me. It's closer than Philly. It's closer than Pittsburgh, obviously. I think Allentown is the next closest thing to me, but that's not a major city in the same sense that New York or Philly would be. And I don't know anybody off the job or on the job in Philly that I could ask if they had a similar memo. So we'll go with what I know. And I know there's the NYPD memo. So there's part of your 52% that's actively preparing for some form of civil war right there. Although, I don't think that's what that poll had in mind. Now, there's roughly 300 million people in the United States, correct? Correct. I know because I looked it up before I made the video. 50% is 150 million. That's a lot of people. Now, according to CIA statistics and studies on nefarious deeds, it takes 2 to 5% of the population to wage a successful insurgency. So that's between 2 and 6 million people. I'd like to know what the population count is currently. That is rioting and looting in various places, and how close we are to that. I don't think we're quite at the 2% mark, to say the least. But I'd be curious as to how close we are. So 52% of the country is actively preparing for it. And it takes, at a minimum, 2% of the country, or 2% of the population, well, 2% of the country, right, to wage a successful insurgency. Some pretty interesting numbers when you think about it. The other thing I got my hands on today was a leaked document from a left-wing group detailing how they are going to handle pre-election, election, and post-election, ranging from passive to civil disobedience to outright, this is a 39-page document. I scanned it briefly. I didn't have time to sit down in front of a computer screen and read it in detail. But the one thing that was clear from scanning it, picking up on some highlights, is that it is a very well organized plan. If I can figure out how to link it, I will. Just because of who I am and the things I say, my videos don't get shared through the algorithm anyway. That's up to you guys to get the information out there. If I can figure out how to link it, I'll put it in the description. There was no name on the to the organization that put this document out there, or at least not on the copy that I got my hands on. But I would suspect it's one of the usual suspects, right? Like whether it's Organizing for America, Action Network, somebody like that. I don't think you'd see a document like that from a group like Antifa, who is as decentralized as they are, or claims to be as decentralized as they are, because that would be a direct breadcrumb trail back to some form of centralization, which is what they're trying to avoid. The interesting part of it is it's the, and you can tell this is a left-wing document because it always reverts back to the standard boogeyman of white supremacist militias. As opposed to anarchists, communists, and white supremacist militias. Because in their mind, there's no such thing as an anarchist or a communist that would do anything wrong, right? So of the 52%, who falls into what group? I asked that question in the last video about it. And I think based on what I've seen in that document, just what I've seen without giving it a thorough read, pull out the laptop and look at it tomorrow, because there's no way I'm reading 39 pages on my phone screen. I'll be blind in an hour. It's pretty obvious to me who's planning on disrupting things. The fact that a major law enforcement organization like the NYPD has a plan in place for the aftermath and the presumed chaos that's going to follow is very telling. The other thing to bear in mind is that the NYPD, again, that's the closest agency that I'm familiar with, which is why I keep referring back to them, is very well networked within federal law enforcement and intelligence agencies. That goes back to, hell, that goes back to 93, when the Blind Sheik tried to blow up the Twin Towers. The tentacles of their intelligence apparatus spread wide. So I would assume that, to a lesser degree, big cities like Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., I don't know, Los Angeles, places like that have similar memorandum that just haven't been leaked yet, or haven't been leaked. it also begs the question of what do they know that they're not telling? Right? I mean, you're going to let out a document like that, I'd kind of like to look a little further under the kimono to see what's going on, rather than have to wait another 2 weeks for surprise. My suggestion to you, the educated viewer, or you, the new viewer, would be, if you live in an area like New York City, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., to plan to be able to stay home for a few days, weeks, what have you, if such chaos should erupt. The leaked NYPD memo pointed toward early 2021 that they were planning on seeing whatever was going to go on through. Now, that could be the old case of plan for the worst and hope for the best, which would make sense from a planning standpoint. But for the average armed, prepared citizen, people like you and I who aren't members of large organizations like that, it would also make sense to plan for the worst and hope for the best. So if you live in one of those areas, it would behoove you to be able to stay your ass at home for a few days, weeks, months, if necessary. I mean, between everybody working from home and the fact that you can get anything and everything delivered now, there was one upside, the one big upside to the COVID thing, is that you don't have to leave. Well, in a lot of cases, people don't have to leave their house if they don't want to. You might just be better off taking advantage of that. Or it could just be a case of, hey, we don't want to get caught with our pants down. Let's plan for the worst case scenario possible and then just let the memo leak. Judging by the look on my partner's face when he said, yeah, that's a thing, I don't necessarily think it's a case of plan for the absolute worst possible thing we can think of, knowing full well it's not going to go that far. I don't know the conversation he had with his contact, but again, from the look on his face, it was obviously a serious conversation. So anyway, it's Saturday night. I've rambled on for almost 20 minutes. I hope you guys like the video. If you do, like, share, subscribe, talk about it in the comments. Be safe, watch your six, enjoy what's left of your weekend. Out for now.